All right, guys and gals, back to work here tonight. It's about that time of day again here after all. Thursday evening, it's April 30th, 2020. My name is Joseph, and welcome back to your nightly newsletter. Now, if you're here for the first time, it's great to have you with me because my job tonight is to help us find the best entry setups for tomorrow's trading session. And I got a jam-packed video in store for you guys and gals tonight. The charts are all prepped up in the background, as you can see. We get some oil, got some S&P, and of course that yellow metal. We get the gold in the video tonight. We're going to talk about all the markets here tonight. We'll plan the best setups to take and the best traps to avoid for tomorrow. Speaking of tomorrow, first of the month, got a holiday tomorrow, got some news on the calendar, and we just heard some really explosive information coming out of the White House, which may shake things up on tomorrow's May Day kind of holiday trading session. I'm going to grab the calendar tonight, and we'll break that down so you know how to trade tomorrow's first of the month and end of the week. Boy, oh boy, I got a lot to talk about tonight here. Before we jump in, though, before we jump into the charts and put everything together, make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel. I don't want you to miss all the good stuff we publish every evening on this YouTube video. So hit that subscribe button and make sure you tune in every evening. Don't forget, if you have any questions at all about what we talk about tonight on the video, drop those questions in the comment section below. And how about a thumbs up here tonight for me if you tune in every evening and watch this video. Help me finish up the month of April. What a great month it's been with a big old thumbs up on this video tonight. All kidding aside, I always appreciate you guys and gals carving out an hour or so with me every evening on this video newsletter. So don't forget, great to have you with me. Subscribe, hit that thumbs up button for me here tonight and type those questions in anytime you got them along the way. Well, let's not waste any more valuable time. Almost the end of the month, end of the week. Time is ticking. Let's get this video going tonight. Kicking off with the calendar for tomorrow. Tomorrow is Friday. It's May Day tomorrow. Now, we don't celebrate May Day here in the States, right? We know, though, there are holidays going on tomorrow all over Europe, all throughout Asia. So if you are celebrating the May Day holiday tomorrow, then happy May Day to you. Hopefully I'll be the first to tell you happy May Day. I'm not quite sure what exactly y'all do with May Day stuff, but whatever you guys do, wherever your neck of the woods is as we stay here in the States, hope you do it great tomorrow and stay safe and have fun and enjoy the holiday. Hopefully, I assume the May Day means some good weather and hopefully less of this virus spread. So tomorrow we know we do have a kind of a holiday in different parts of the world. Here in North America, we don't do much May Day celebrations, but if you are, right, we're aware of that. The markets are open tomorrow here in the U.S. It will likely be a relatively, well, I was going to say it's probably going to be a relatively slow session in Europe, right? I would imagine overnight because this, after all, is a holiday in Asia. It's a holiday in Europe. So I would imagine the Asian sessions and the London sessions will be a little bit slower than they normally would. I would imagine we'll probably get the meat and potatoes tomorrow. In that typical, tomorrow's a Friday, so typically, it's kind of that 9:30 to 11 o'clock Eastern time block. That tends to be where you get the best setups on a Friday morning. We'll obviously be together tomorrow and every morning at 8 o'clock Eastern time. So we'll be there in the trade room bright and early. But I'd be definitely, if you can only be at your desk tomorrow for an hour or so, I would definitely make sure that 9:30 to 11 o'clock block is definitely where you're at your desk tomorrow. We've got some big news you can see. The ISM manufacturing number coming out at 10 o'clock tomorrow. That is some pretty big news on the schedule for tomorrow. We'll definitely be looking forward to trading the response to that news report tomorrow in the trade room. That's kind of the big news we have on the schedule. We know that Fridays are always early in, early out. You got to have a really good reason to be trading after 11 o'clock on a Friday. Like I said earlier, I think that 9:30 to 11 spot will probably be where the most reliable setups are going to be tomorrow. But I'll tell you though, just as I was about to record this video tonight, I'm hearing some news out of the White House, and they kind of quote the U.S. President Trump saying he has evidence that the coronavirus originated in this Wuhan lab. So as of right now, this is kind of the first time we've ever heard the leader of the United States. and at this point, it's just a commentary right now. But will this evolve overnight? I think we're going to be waiting closely here, listening closely to hear how will China respond? How will the rest of the world respond? We haven't seen any real, kind of accusations yet. I guess we'll call that, right? We haven't really seen any formal accusations yet. And I'm seeing headlines here just after 4 o'clock Eastern time out of the White House from the U.S. President Trump talking about he has visually seen evidence that the coronavirus originated in that Wuhan lab. There has been a lot of rumors about this, but nobody's really come out and said that yet. The only reason why I bring this up is because this is the first time we've actually seen these from a major leader. And whatever happens with this may steamroll into tomorrow, into this weekend. As of right now, it's just a headline. It's just a headline. But this is one of those kind of headlines that may get taken for a ride here over the next 24 hours. Right now, it's nothing. But how do we see places in Europe respond? Do we see other places in Asia jump on top of this as well? That may end up being a big story for tomorrow as we see some bickering back and forth, and it may snowball into this weekend. How that impacts our markets right now, I couldn't tell you, but it's definitely something that was alarming when I saw it come across the news headlines. I talked about this last night too, that oil deal. I didn't hear much more about that today. We didn't hear much about that. We saw the euphoria continue on oil. Remember, we're hearing some rumors the last 24 hours about potentially some sort of bailout or stimulus or something for the oil workers here in the U.S. That will be a huge boon, right? A huge support for the price of oil futures, which of course are traded here in the U.S. That is something that is really on our radar here going into Friday. It would make a lot of sense if we hear something more tomorrow into the end of the week. And of course, right, I can't talk about May Day without talking about the reopening. We heard from Germany today. I'll tell you, what a mind blow. I was not expecting to hear so quickly from Germany today. The Germans, of course, coming out today and saying that they are taking steps now to reopen their economy. Keep in mind, Germany had one of the lowest death rates, I believe it was. So I can see why they have a little more confidence. We're waiting to hear, will this start to pick up steam? Will other countries in Europe, will they follow suit? Right? We know here in the U.S., there's a bit of a battle going on between the stay closed and the reopening camp. So we know that's kind of bubbling up here, and that may start to come to an head tomorrow as well. So as you can see, there's a lot on the horizon out there. There's a lot of stuff bubbling in this, under the surface here right now. Will those what sounded to me like direct accusations, will they take hold for tomorrow? Will we hear about that oil deal? And of course, what's going to be the next big development in the reopening of the economy here in the U.S., maybe where you are in Asia, in Europe, in North America, South America. It's a big deal right now, and the markets are really responding, right, to every headline regarding that. What we do know for tomorrow, though, is we do know tomorrow, as always, I'm going to be in the trade room with you guys, 8 o'clock Eastern time tomorrow, and we'll trade this stuff together. We get that big news at 10 o'clock Eastern time. Don't forget to join the trade room tomorrow morning. Got to be a member, and I'll put all the membership information for you guys to get registered. That way you don't miss tomorrow's May Day trading session. I'll put all the links for you guys in the description of this YouTube video. All right, so early in, early out tomorrow, 9:30 to 11 o'clock is probably where the good stuff's going to be. Expect some sluggishness in the overnight session because, of course, it is a holiday in Asia and in Europe. Let's jump into some charts tonight. We get some oil. I got some S&P. And, of course, we got some gold. Boy, that gold. What a great chart on the gold. But I want to jump in first to the oil market. Everyone's watching oil right now. Everybody's talking about the oil. What do we know about the oil right now? The black gold, the Texas tea. What do we know about the oil? We know we're bullish. That is for sure. We can definitely see a strong move into the close. What does a strong move always tell us? It always tells us we can expect another leg in the same direction, right? And we talked about this, right? Anytime we see a strong move in one direction, we expect another leg. And so we're anticipating that these buyers will be waiting at areas of support, right? Like trend line support, like channel support, like range support. So we definitely know that buyers are going to be waiting patiently to get long on this. And we also know where they're trying to go. They're probably trying to go up to that $20 a barrel area we've been fantasizing about, right? Since we went down to $6 a barrel, right? Less than 2 weeks ago. So we definitely know where the buyers want to go right now. That measured move up top, by the way, that measured move, you got to go a little bit further down the ladder to get a good grip on that measured move. Remember, I subscribe to the mindset of the rock in the puddle of water, right? So I believe that when it comes to symmetry, when it comes to moves like this, everything starts with, the way that I describe it is, imagine a puddle of water and you drop a rock in that water and everything kind of ripples out from there. So if you want to know what the measured moves up here are, it's usually best to go down here and look there. So you'll notice as we do this, I got my first leg, my second, my third. This one really confirms they're still using it, right? That leg right there, if I can draw here, that leg right there really confirms they're still using it. So that, of course, now tells me copy and paste that one up. And that gives us now that measured move. So we know that $20 a barrel. I mean, come on. You don't really need that measured move there to know $20 a barrel is a big objective. But it definitely gives us an additional layer of resistance on top. Just to confirm that we really don't want to be buying up there, right? We do want to be taking our profit up in that area and sitting on hands. So we know we are bullish. We know where we're trying to go. I want to be a buyer off support levels here. What are some options for me to get long? Well, first of all, I really like the way that trend line, that reversal line, and that channel line all come together. So this area for me is a pretty good spot here for us, down around that 1767 and change, right? So we get a bunch of levels that are converging there. But as always, with this much strength going higher, though, it is important that we think about, kind of what our plan would be as we go higher. For example, if we open up and keep going higher here with this much strength, I can look for that two-try trap pattern. Now remember, this pattern, of course, what's going to do is it'll go up, it'll give you a shallow pullback first, a higher high, just a little bit of a higher high there, and then you've got that little trap low down there. We call that a two-try trap pattern. That will be a great one on the way higher. If we do end up running up into this area without much of a pullback, keep your eyes open for a range up here. What does a range tell me? Buy low, sell high, focus on failures, right? Whenever I have a trading range, I wait for those buyers to run out of bullets, as we always say. I wait for it to pull back off the high. Once it pulls back off the high, this is not a reversal, but we're hoping that the rookies and the bears in the market, they think it's a reversal, because once those bears come in and commit to selling off that pullback, once they sell that breakout pullback, now I know exactly where their stops are. Now I know exactly where their pain points are, and we can literally buy into those stop losses, right, with a failure pattern. This would be, of course, a seller failure pattern below the low of that trading range, right? That is definitely something we're watching for as we go. Now, what if we pull back here? If we pull back now into the low of that channel, couple patterns I'm watching for. One would be a two-legged pullback, right? Draw that trend line down, over, up, and over we go. We call those two LPs or two-legged pullbacks. Those are not going to happen as often as I wish they did. They're very reliable setups. The key is going to be, though, that move down, that relatively big bounce. It'll look bullish there for a little bit, and then it will roll over again. That's going to give you that green light to draw that trend line down and use that trend line on the opposite side. If we just kind of collapse back down in, now what I'll do now is we'll look for that classic seller failure off the moving average into a bullish pull back, right, again off the EMA, right? Now think about how this pattern sets up, right? It's a seller failure. That is the same pattern I talked about up here, right? We go below the moving average. The bears come in. They try to sell into it. Where's their pain? Where's their stops? Right above that high, right? You're buying into those stop losses. And again, you're buying off support areas like I talked about in the introduction here. Then you're buying that pullback, right, from there. Now, where we go from there, right? What if we pull back even further? Right, we pull back even further. Now, this is where things are going to get interesting because you got that trading range, or what looks in hindsight like a trading range. If I really pull back now into that trading range now I start looking for what's called a nested failure. I want to be a buyer still, but this momentum is a little bit more, it's just stronger, right? If it pulls all the way back down into that range here, now we look for that nested failure. Instead of looking to buy too aggressively now, I wait for one, I wait for two, and I buy from there. Oh, that's not what I want to do. I buy from there. My mouse got a little bit over, right? Look, my mouse got a little bit overextended there for a second. So that's called a nested failure, right? And see how it sets up, right? You get a big, strong pullback. I'm not gonna get too aggressive on the first failure because all that momentum, the bears are not going to give up without a fight, right? Let them try twice. Let them try once. Let them try twice, and then hit them hard. Right? Then you got them right where you want them. Then hit them hard from there. Once those bears are all in, you're buying off the EMA, you're buying the stops for that rally going higher. All right. Now, a lot of times, this what we call nested failures. A lot of times, what will happen is they'll rip. Right? They'll really rip higher there, and as they rip higher, I like to look for that two-try trap pattern. Again, the moving average there, it'll be a shallow pullback, right? And that two-try trap here as well. So a nested failure, right, into a two-try trap. Again, that's a nested failure into a trap pattern, right, on the follow-up. Now, guys, I'm covering a lot right now. Believe me, I realize I'm going rapid fire on these setups. If you're a client of mine, we have a whole worksheet that we use together, and so this is relatively easy in review for you. If you're not a client of mine, I would definitely recommend make sure you join as a member, and I'll put, again, all the membership information down in the description. If you're not going to be with me tomorrow, though, in the trade room, the next best thing is to grab the free trading course, right? If you haven't learned the patterns yet, again, we're going to do these together tomorrow in the trade room. But if you're not with me tomorrow in the trade room, though, grab the free course. I'll put a link up here in the upper right-hand corner, and that free trading course, you'll learn all about our pullback patterns, our trap patterns, our failure patterns, right? All the patterns I'm talking about tonight. That way, when you come back next week, after you take the free course over the weekend, right, you'll be able to make the most of our time together on this video newsletter. So again, tomorrow, 8 o'clock Eastern Time, we'll trade together in the trade room. If you're not with me, though, make sure at the very least you grab that free trading course linked up in the upper right-hand corner. All right, we are looking good here. How about a seller? How do I sell this market? We actually can sell this market right now. One option would be as we go higher, if we do get up into that measured move, I look for what I call a crown reversal pattern. Crown reversal patterns, a warning on these. I like to go on a half size position or quarter size position. On these crown reversals, they will usually take a lot longer than you think they will. Okay, they're not going to set up over a 5-minute period, at least not usually, right? Usually good crown reversals, they're going to take 15, 20 minutes to take that kind of that turn. So just be aware of that, right? Don't force these. And again, I always go kind of a quarter size position personally whenever I'm looking for these reversals, right? So the first thing is a crown reversal, you've got to be at a major objective, right? So we want to make sure we're up at that measured move, up around that 20 area. I can't trust it enough unless I'm at a major objective, because that's where buyers will take their profit, and that's where we can start calling or catching these tops. So I call these crown reversal patterns. The next pattern would be a 1 strong move down, 2 is a pullback to the moving average, and 3 is a strong move off the moving average. We call these 1, 2, 3 reversals. Now, no, I'm not going to sell off that first pullback, but I am going to draw a trend line there. I'm going to mark that trend line here, and now I will look for that short off the high of the second pullback, right? Off the high of that channel, right? Again, it's called a 1, 2, 3 reversal into a hidden channel pullback. 1, 2, 3 reversal. Again, I don't trust that reversal for obvious reasons, right? They keep failing below the moving average. You can't trust those deep pullbacks, right? Because there's a good chance that deep pullback will go 1, will go 2, and snap back up to retest those highs. So be aware of that when you're getting those deep pullbacks. I'm looking for that strong pullback. That's definitely the beginning of it, but they got to hold that pullback, right? Run. Then I can mark that low, mark that high, and I can sell off that high. Now, where's my target on this for the sell side? We know where the objective is for the buy side. I'll tell you, there's a lot of open space down here if these bears can get their hooks into this thing. I would imagine, where we spent most of our time right after that big bloodbath last week, that $13 to $12 area, if they can get their hooks in this thing, it should go pretty quickly, I would imagine, from there. There's obviously that major support level at about $15 a barrel, but if they can crack through it, right, tomorrow, like I said, we got a bunch of stuff kind of lingering out there under the surface right now. Who knows, right? Who knows if, the accusations coming out of the White House, if that takes ground, that may shake everybody's confidence in this thing. We might see a very busy session tomorrow, even though normally you would expect on a May Day holiday, half the people are, on break, other half are here working. It's tough to tell how much we're going to get tomorrow. We should get about an hour and a half, no matter what, like we always do on a good holiday Friday, but time will tell. So oil is looking good here right now, opening up here right now. Look at that big blast down there, right on this S&P. Well, good timing then. Why don't we grab the S&P as we're opening up? Always fun to be recording this thing live while they open things up here. But at least you can kind of see here, right, how unpredictable these markets can be. Let's talk about the S&P though. What do we know about the S&P now that we got a little bit more information, right, from these guys on this? What do we got right now in the S&P? What do we know about? Well, we know we have a strong move down. We know we have a lower low. And anytime I see a spike with a lower low like that, I know that I've got that channel low, that channel high, and I know people are going to want to sell off that high. So we call these spike and channel patterns. And then you'll notice they just kind of poke their head through that low, which tells me now it's time for me to adjust this plan. So we know we're bearish. Up until about 2 seconds ago, it looked like we were sitting right at the low of that channel, but it doesn't look like that is the low any longer now that we've got, right, that breakdown. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of that channel. The measured move, you can already see there, 1 leg down, 2 legs down. There's the measured move there. Let me clean this off here. And really at this point now, I'm going to go down off those lows, right, up around those highs now, and we'll find a new, right, we'll find a new hidden channel. Now this thing may keep going lower here. Let's see where that channel top's going to be. It'll probably be something like that. It does look like a pretty aggressive approach here. So now that I've got my new updated channel here now, all right, let's keep this party rolling here. So we know we're bearish. And what I was going to say was we finished the session right at the lows. Boy, what a turn of events. What a change from one day to the next. I mean, we just talked about the euphoria, right? We just talked about the euphoria in this market last night. And we had, when was the last time this happened? We had a session go from closing right at its highs to following up right at its low and gapping down. What on earth has shaken everyone's confidence? Maybe they realized the actual news numbers coming out weren't that great. Yesterday we saw these markets shrug off all the bad news. Maybe they learned to read a newspaper today. All kidding aside, that might be what's happening, right? We heard about that virus vaccine, that virus medication yesterday, that may have been what really sent this market into space yesterday, and it may be coming back down to planet Earth here, or whatever planet this market's on here right now. So we're gapping down right now, and you'll notice here, right, it's kind of been a moving target on this. So what I'm going to do is just keep on, right, keep marking up that low, keep marking up that high. What they might be trying to do here is they might be trying to go off that one. Yeah, I bet they are. I'll bet they're trying to finish off that big channel here. There's a lot of different ways that we can look at this. So they may be trying to finish off, right, that big channel here. They may also be trying to give us another hidden channel there. Let's just say, for example, though, right, we have this on the channel here tonight. So what are some options right now? We know we're bearish. We know we want to be a seller. Let me update this now on the fly. We'll mark up that level. I've got my gap level, right? That gap here back at, 82.5 area. So I'll make that my aqua, right? What is that going to be? Probably 82.5, I would imagine, right? Is that gap down? And so now this gets moved lower, and this now becomes my new battle zone, right? Now what I can do is I can go in, I can add this in now, and this now becomes my new area now where I'm looking to be a seller. Boy, how about that service, right? On demand here, right on the video tonight. Now again, this may get adjusted here a little bit, right, off of that low. I would imagine, though, with this much strength here, we're probably looking at something like that, right? Probably something like that for this new channel. So that gives me a lot of information now that I can use here going forward. Let's try to make the most of this time together, though, and get this thing done. So we know we got a strong bear move down. We know the bears have control. We want to be selling up at a level of resistance. What are some options here right now? Let's say, for example, first, I draw the channel aggressively off of this low. I pop it up around the high. If I zoom in on this now, my favorite way to trade a strong move down like this, there's a couple ways you can do it. If the market pulls back here for us, that would be ideal. If I can get a pullback here now up around those highs, we can look for that straight buyer failure, right, off the moving average. Look to sell right into those stops with a buyer failure into a seller pullback on the way down. Right? Again, a buyer failure. We get above the moving average. The buyers try to buy the pullback. We sell into those stop losses. That buyer failure pattern oftentimes pulls right back to the moving average and gives you a shot to do it again. Again, I'm trying to do this off the high of that channel, right? That is a great option here. Another option would be as we go lower. If we see a shallow pullback here, a shallow pullback, a new lower low, what does that look like? That looks like a two-try trap pattern. Shallow pullback, trap pattern above that high. We call those what? Two-try traps. Notice how I draw this though. It's got to have that lower low, shallow pullback, lower low, trap high. We call those two-try traps. Another option is we end up sinking down and going sideways, right? Maybe the bears in the market say, nope, we've gone too far. We don't want to sell down here. We start going sideways. The moving average starts to flatten out on us. Now what do? Well, what I'll do is I'll take the size of that range. I'll use that to determine where my level of resistance is. Okay, once I know where my resistance is, that's where I want to be selling now. What's the best entry pattern to get short in a range? A failure pattern. We wait for those bears to run out of bullets, so to speak. We wait for the profit-taking rally. Can I get this thing off the high of a hidden channel? I certainly hope so. It's not required, but it wouldn't hurt. I wait for those buyers to come in, sort of buy that pullback, and what do? We know where their pain points are, and we're selling right into those pain points. That's if the market goes sideways as we go. Now, there's one more option here. There's one more option. And again, keep in mind, too, this may also come down a bit lower and go sideways here, too. So if that happens, right, in that measured move, same thing. Look for those buyer failures as we go from there. Does that make sense? Right? So even if we do go lower here. Now, take a look at where we are, because we're right at a major support area down here. But if we can keep this party rolling, we've got this big, juicy open space below us at 2,800. For all I know, the world's picking up on this accusation out of the White House, and this could be what's fueling this right now. I don't know. I'm recording this right now. I know as much as you know. In fact, you probably know more than I do right now. I've been so busy getting this chart all ready to go. And okay, so now we know where the area is, right? Now we know where the area is. Do we get a 1, 2, 3 breakdown, right? That's the next thing. That's the next possibility. We talk about a pullback, right? We talk about a range, a trap. We got that covered, right? We know where the support is. We want to buy that. We want to sell there. So strong move down, pull back to the moving average, and blast on through. Giddy up, right? Now it's time to go. Mark up that low, mark up that high, and now we're looking for that short now, right? Off the high of that, off the high of that channel, that new hidden channel. If it keeps on bleeding lower, if it just keeps on running lower here, right, we'll keep looking for that 2-try trap pattern, right? That shallow pullback, that lower low, and that trap as we go. So if it keeps on, if the party keeps going lower here and we're seeing no evidence of a pullback in sight, then we see that shallow pullback with that lower low. That's your cue, right? These guys are selling and they're being aggressive, and we can sell that trap high. So I think we've got all the bear side covered here now. What would the bull side look like on this, right? What would the bull side look like on this? The most important thing I think on the bull side is we got that range overhead. And obviously that range will be a magnet. Anytime we see a range, it's a magnet. We get that big round number now as a magnet as well. So we know what those, right? We know where those areas are. I just have to get some momentum back in the hands of the bulls right now. How could I be a buyer on this market? Boy, I could try to play with fire here if I wanted to and look for a crown reversal off of this, right? Off of this this measured move. But man, oh man, that's going to be a pretty scary setup on that, right? We call those crown reversal patterns. So crown reversal pattern, it's an option. It's an option. It seems a little bit dangerous, obviously, all the way down inside momentum on that. What you might want to do is, if you want to be a buyer on it, wait for them to get their retest, right? So they test it once. The bears come back in, right? They hit it again with the buyer failure. We get it again. And once we see it again, then we look for the 1, the 2, the trap from there. That will be a whole lot more reliable for you if you want to be a buyer on that. Does that make sense? Right? So strong move down, you don't want to buy right into that, because what's going to happen is you're going to see a lot of bears here coming in, and they're going to hit it again once they get above the moving average. Right? That'd be that classic buyer failure pattern above the EMA. Right? So imagine that pattern right there. Obviously that will be a sell setup, an easy sell setup, right? Strong move down, pops above the moving average. Buyers try to buy the pullback, and we sell into those stop losses. But after we get that second test, though, when the bears, right, they're all fat and happy now, then we can start looking for that what we call crown reversal patterns coming off of that low. Now, another option would be if we get this, if we want a reversal on this, would be the 1, 2, 3 reversal, right? So strong move up, pull back, and go. I'm not going to buy that first pullback, that's for sure. I don't trust that first pullback at all, right? But I will trust the buy off the low of that channel when we get the reversal, right? Again, this is the 1, 2, 3 reversal into a hidden channel pullback. A very reliable setup, I might add, but you got to wait for it, right? You can't trust that first pullback, because if we do get that pullback up above the moving average, you know what is likely: a buyer failure into a seller pullback for a retest of that low. Another option too would be if the market starts ripping higher here, right? If it really races higher here and we get to see the writing on the wall now, we can look for that shallow pullback, that higher high. Once you get the higher high, then mark up that low, and you're looking for that trap, right? For that trap low there. That would be an option there as well, right? That would be a great option there for us as well. So we'll definitely be keeping an eye on the buy side here, but obviously the bears have control right now. With this gap down though, again, keep an eye out for those ranges down here, right? Keep an eye out for those ranges. It is likely to range. Another thing too, you might want to keep an eye on too is a spike in channel, right? If we kind of grind lower, you know what I mean? if it kind of grinds down here, a lot of times markets do that. If we do see a spike into a channel here, just mark up that first pullback and wait to hit it right above that high. Right? So, again, if we don't get a very deep pullback, we're not getting deep pullbacks, right? The market kind of just rolls over and plays dead here like a wet towel, right? What'll happen is it'll create that channel, and then once you get that channel, mark up the first bit of that pullback, and that's your sweet spot for that sell later on in the day. And again, before we try to buy it, make sure if we go lower, make sure they get their double bottom on it. Then I can look for that buy off the low there. All right, boy, they are on their horse right now, running this thing lower. I hope it wasn't something I said. I'm kidding with you, but now you guys on the plan here for tomorrow. And don't forget too, like I mentioned earlier here, right? Grab that. For whatever reason, my tool's not working very well. Grab that free course there in the upper right-hand corner, and you'll learn all about these entry patterns, right? Or come out and join us every morning in the trade room, right? As a member, I'll put all membership information for you guys into the description of this YouTube video. All right, let's keep this party rolling here. We got some oil. We got some S&P out of the way here right now. Let's talk about the gold here, the black gold, the Texas T. What do we know about gold right now? I'm glad to see that gold did not make me redo the entire chart again on this video, but you get the point though, right? We know sometimes the markets surprise us, and we got to be flexible, right? That's what you got to do. A lot of times you'll do all this prep work ahead of time, and then they'll get this big gap down and blows everything up, and you got to go out and put it back together again. We do that all the time in our trade room, right? And of course, in real time as it's happening. So over on the gold right now, we know we have, the most important thing is we know we're bearish. We know we have what's probably be referred to as a spike in range, right? A spike in range pattern. So a strong spike down, right? Strong spike down into that range. So strong spike into a range. That range is really going to be the most important thing, because as we go lower, I've got my range now, and I'm looking for a chance here to be a seller using a buyer failure pattern up above the high of that range. That's the most important part of this chart right now on the gold. Strong move down into a trading range. I'm trying to find some way to sell short up above the top of that trading range, right? Spike into a range. Now, we want to sell at resistance. I've got what is kind of the definition of a hidden channel here on the gold. I've got this, as you can see, and this channel did take me a bit of a while to find the right fit on this. It really doesn't fit if you draw it, kind of typically like that. It just doesn't fit very well. But I'll tell you, when you see stuff like this, these wicks down here, right? Usually that's the giveaway. That's the actual channel low. And so I draw that channel low off that low, up at those highs, and it really does fit well there now. We got the good fit on it. So we know we're bearish. We want to be a seller at resistance. I'm finding that resistance level from a channel overhead. I also notice here, right? You can see we've got that, right, measured move here. That's going to be a key area of support. So we know we're sitting at a level of support. If I take this a little bit wider here, man, oh man, it's all inside of an expanding triangle, isn't it? Remember this from last night's newsletter? We've been watching this triangle here all week, and we had the evidence. If you watched last night, we had the evidence that the buyers were strong. Right? We saw the lack of rotation, the close at the highs. And so if you watch last night's newsletter, we talked about the fact that if you want to sell off that high with all of that kind of bearishness, so to speak, you're going to have to get that nested failure. And that's exactly what we got, right? 1, 2, and look out below for those buyers getting stopped out. So if you watch last night's newsletter, you were ready for knowing that it was very bullish, but knowing that you're at the high of that range gives you great confidence to sell short off of that high. And then, of course, like every good expanding triangle, we rotate from the high all the way down to that low. Now, when you look at this environment, it's tempting to say, oh, well, we're still inside of a range, so we should buy down here, right? No, way too wide at this point. Remember, one of the characteristics of an expanding triangle like this is that you can buy low and sell high when the triangle is relatively narrow. But once that triangle gets really wide, like it is right now, you really can't justify being a buyer on this because of what? Momentum. Momentum is just far too strong to want to be a buyer on this. So we are below that range, and yes, I will definitely say we are sitting on that expanding triangle support. We're sitting on that measured move support. There's no doubt about that, but we are way too bearish, at least in my eyes, to even consider being a buyer on this until to be a buyer. We'll go over that here in a second. So what are my options right now to be a seller on this? Like I said earlier, I've got the bear market down into the range, right? I know that whenever I have a range like this, I want to sell above the high of that range. I've got a bunch of levels of resistance, one here, one there, one there. I like the area up there. So one option is going to be get up above the high of the range, right? Let these buyers get a breather here. Hopefully they'll try to buy that pullback thinking this triangle is worthy of being bought, and we can sell into those stop losses with just your typical buyer failure pattern. That will be a great setup off those highs. Another thing I'm watching for here too is that if you look at this strong move down, if we were to get a lower low on this, just a little bit of a lower low there, now that trap becomes in play, right? So now that could be, it doesn't seem likely right now. We saw a very similar scenario there where we saw a strong move down, it kind of grinded up into a buyer failure and back down again. That's what's looking like it wants to do right now, right? Up and back down again. But if it does roll over here, make that lower low, now that sets up for that two-try trap right off the top of that channel, right? That'll be a great setup for us. But again, they got to get that lower low. The lower low is definitely going to be, I think, a really important part of this. Another part of this too is if we can crack below this low here, that next big level down there, right? That 1666.2, right? Quite a lucky number there. 1666.2 there. If we can break through this low, so instead of getting just a small little lower low, it really extends going lower. Wonderful. Now I can mark up that low. I can mark up a new high. I can find that new channel, and I can sell off of that high. So as you can see, if we do keep going lower, I've got some options here as well. Or, let's be honest, right? If it bloodbaths and run lower here, if it really cooks to the downside, shallow pullback, and we can look for another two-try trap pattern because, of course, you don't want to sell right into this support down here, do you? No, right? You don't want to sell right into that support here. I want to be selling up above, right? Somewhere, and whenever I'm running out of space, my favorite pattern, which you guys probably already know if you're here every evening, is a trap, right? Trap's my go-to when I'm running out of open space. So those are those kind of the big components here right now, right? Do we sit? Do we stay inside this range? If we do get up, buyer failure, back down, do we get that lower low? And with that lower low, we can then trap high, right? Or do we continue to run lower, find that low, right? Find that high, sell off that high? Or do we get that bloodbath, right? And that move lower here into that two-try trap pattern, which we talked about many times already. So I get a lot of options here as the market goes lower. How about being a buyer right now? So being a buyer here, it's a lot like we talked about on the S&P. We have so much strength going down right now. It is a bit difficult to justify being a buyer on this. What I would wait for is wait for this price to go up, get that retest of that low. It's almost like you're letting the sellers kind of get their way for a little bit, right? Let those sellers scratch that itch, if you will. Once the bears have it, then what I can do is I can start looking for that one, that two, and that crown reversal, right? That'll be a lot more reliable way to get long. Again, you always want to do it at a major turning point, like a big measured move, like the low of this triangle. But remember, you don't want to fight momentum. That much strength going lower here, right? That much momentum strength going lower. I want to wait for that next test, get that double bottom on it, and then I can go out and I can look for, right, I can look for that trap low off that, again, what I call a 2-try or a crown reversal in this scenario. Another option would be we wait for a 1, 2, 3 reversal, 1, 2, 3 reversal. Now this is going to be all about timing here. Can I get that buy before we get back into that range? You got to remember that range is the no trade zone, right? This range right here between that 1721 and that 1712.6, right? That range is the no trade zone. So can I get in underneath that range, or do we end up going back into the range and I now have to worry about getting back below it again, right? That may happen. We may go right back up into the range here. I don't want to trade inside the range, and therefore I'm going to wait for that pullback, wait for those bears to try to sell that breakout pullback, and look for the buy in back up into that range here. Sometimes we do see setups where it'll jump, right? It'll go 1, 2 up, and they'll leave this little bit of a trap down there for you. So traps will definitely be something on our radar if we're trying to be a buyer without buying in that channel, right? If the channel becomes a problem, look for that trap as we go back up into that range, not the channel, right? As that range becomes a problem. I don't want to be buying. I don't want to trade inside the range, right? We want to trade below the range. Range bar markets tell me buy low, sell high. All right, so if we do end up running higher here, again, if it just runs back up into the range like this, there's not much you want to do here. What I will do, though, is I'll wait for that pullback. I'll wait for a seller failure. Momentum is bullish at that point, and we can buy right into those stop losses. What would make it a lot easier would be a strong move up, a pullback to the moving average, and a strong move off the moving average. That would make this job so much easier, because then we know exactly where they're trying to go, right? They're trying to go to the other side of that triangle we talked about earlier. Now I can mark up that high. I can mark up that low. If we have this much momentum, I'm not worried about that range any longer. Now I'm worried about getting in on that next pullback. Right? At this point now, momentum is a big, big factor, and we're looking for that rotation all the way back to the other side of that triangle. So a couple different options here as far as the buy side goes and the sell side. Just be careful picking the bottom on this. Like I mentioned on the S&P, right? Just be very careful trying to pick these bottoms. I don't care how good the pattern is. If you're going against all that strong momentum, the pattern's not going to be very reliable, and reliability is really all that matters. Now, speaking of reliability, tomorrow morning, every morning, 8 o'clock Eastern time, I'm going to help you guys and gals find the most reliable setups in our trade room on all of our favorite markets like oil, gold, and of course the S&P 500. To join the trade room, you got to be an advanced member. You can find all the information, again, linked up in the description of this YouTube video. If you're on the website right now at Sideways Markets, there's a big blue button for you right below the video tonight on the trading blog. So get registered. Don't waste too much time, because tomorrow morning, the May Day trading session will be before you know it. Don't be afraid to call that toll-free phone number in the upper left-hand corner if you need any help getting registered here overnight. Also, check out that live support tool. You can always ask questions there, and I can answer right using chat. And of course, always, if membership isn't quite right for you, at the very least, grab the free course. It comes with the free trial, right? Learn the patterns, learn the strategy, and come back and join me. That way we can make the most of our time together every evening on this video. Boy, what a great week it's been. Hope you had a great week out there wherever you're logged in from. Hope to see you tomorrow morning in the trade room as a member. If not, we'll come back and do it again next week. If I don't see you tomorrow morning in the trade room, have a wonderful, wonderful May Day holiday. Enjoy your weekend. Hopefully, wherever you are, they've got the parks or beaches or something open to get some fresh air this weekend. I know we're going to be looking at a bit of a battle here in Los Angeles this weekend about who controls the beaches. So we'll see how that plays out. What will happen tomorrow, though? Who knows? We'll be there tomorrow morning, though, 8 o'clock Eastern time with a front row seat. Hope I see you there. If not, come back and join us again soon. My name is Joseph. Be well out there. Be nice to each other, will ya? And be here next time. Adios, amigos. Bye-bye for now.